Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is Friday, December something, 2nd, December 2nd, NFP today. We're going to do a little pre-NFP warm-up, little pre-NFP analysis, do the 4-hour sweep, take a look at our 4 hours, see where we are, just a macro analysis, structural peek at what's going on. Let's just get right into it. We're going to start with Buckcorn. Good old Bitcoin. Rough run on Bitcoin lately. It's hard out there for a pimp lately on Bitcoin. Holy cow. With all the FTX stuff going on. It's just typical stuff. Everybody who's been through a few of these cycles has seen this kind of stuff before. It's either China banning Bitcoin or some whatever. There's always some crazy news in the cycle that just pushes it down. It's just typical market cycle stuff. It's down. There's no reason to even mess with it right this second, in my opinion. We're right in the middle of a range. Say a macro range it is, but there's just really not much of a reason to mess with it at the moment. For a day trade or something like that, I don't know where my bias would lie. We do have NFP today, and it can affect Bitcoin, not as much. I wouldn't expect it. Wouldn't expect Bitcoin to be heavily affected by that. We're just right in the middle of a range. We would want to be long on the lows and short from the highs for sure. I do think Bitcoin's going lower. I'm not even going to bother doing that analysis right now. Nothing really to say here. As far as the 4 hours are concerned, we're just right in the middle of a range. And the streaming software is slowing my computer down. I can see it chugging here. So we'll just say our effective trading range locally is this. Within a day trading context, I could see us probably going higher today for some kind of like a day trade or a scalp or something. What's likely to happen over the next few candles on the 4-hour chart? We've got 3 candles left within the daily. So what are the next couple candles likely to look like? I wouldn't make a decision either way. It wouldn't surprise me if it went a little bit higher. We'll leave it at that. Moving on. Dollar. This is extremely low. The dollar is very low. This is a very good opportunity. One thing of note that happened yesterday, other than some G13 classified strategy stuff that we do in the group, the dollar broke its macro swing low. It's time to pay attention. It's time to pay attention just structurally on the dollar, the US dollar. This is juicy stuff here. This is likely an opportunity that is going to last for at least weeks. I would pay very close attention to the dollar here. You do not want to be short. It's not financial advice. It's life advice. It's common sense. You do not want to be short down here. That being said, it's NFP. This price action is just about as juicy fruit as it gets. I know what we're doing and, we'll leave it at that. So probably want to be watching for a stronger dollar and a brutally stronger dollar. So we'll watch that. Just 104.5 where we are. This PA is good. Again, we broke a macro low down here. It's time to pay attention to the dollar, boys and girls. Very likely going to be, it goes beyond the dollar. There's very likely about to be a major dynamic shift in the market. Just a big swing the other way, market wide. Many assets are about to turn around. We'll see how true that prediction comes. Aussie dollar, just talked about the dollar. The Australian dollar was actually pretty strong this week. The Aussie and Kiwi were both stronger. Pulled back a little yesterday, but they had been stronger. This, again, along with the dollar weakness, has climbed up to the top. We do have some macro stuff up here. We were watching this off the low. We were looking for that 1,000 pip move. It's pretty much happened, where I think we're up like 600 something pips. We were waiting for this to eventually put in a low. It's been a big range expansion, and it's just expanded out again to the downside. just as far as the macro move goes, there's still likely more to go on this. We haven't even reached our equilibrium of the range expansion yet. We're not even close to it. There's probably likely to be more upside over the next few months, we'll say. But right now we don't want to be long. There are some levels higher. We're watching up here on higher. It's some higher time frame weekly stuff, I believe. But it's not necessarily a good entry long. It is looking reasonably bullish here. Kind of also in a range, if you think about it. You know, one way to interpret this is this. And you have buyers and sellers in blocks of price. We try to stay out of the middle. We're near the high of the range, so it's not necessarily a good entry. That being said, I do think that possibly it could go higher. I think it's probably going to end up higher. I've been watching this for months. It's just not a good entry right now. We'll wait and see what happens with the dollar. Again, be very careful about where the US dollar is and what could potentially be happening here. Euro dollar, same situation. Going to see some crazy positions on here probably. We're scaling into stuff yesterday. Watching for the dollar. Short euro dollar, obviously. I think there's clearly no reason to be long here. From here. And it's the from here that matters. Relative to where we are in the universe, there's no reason to be long here. We're on a higher high after just a major move. And again, relative volatility wise, knowing what the dollar's doing, it's not a good idea to be entering long here. Whether or not it screws around for a little bit with NFP and who knows, but I don't want to enter long here. I know where my bias lies. Moving on. Euro pound. Probably not much here. This has just been a big range. I'll probably adjust some of this stuff here. And again, just macro, loosely looking at supply and demand, which has its merits. I think it breaks down once you go too far back. I know it does. Logically, it breaks down. We talked about that. We're not going to talk about it now. Supply and demand on higher time frames doesn't make sense logically, and it can be proven. So as of right now, recent price action, we're in the middle of a range. What could, you could consider a range. We're in the middle of it. Pretty nasty candle there on that last one. I would expect it to pull up a little bit and probably reject. I would wait to see how this candle closed. I don't know what I would do here, really. The pound had such a crazy day yesterday that I wouldn't want to probably be messing with this, really. I wouldn't want to short it because how strong the pound was. But it just may not be a good time to mess with this. We're kind of in the middle of, targets. Sometimes it's not good to mess with it in the middle. We're just in the middle of a consolidation. Leave it alone, probably. My guess is it pulls up a little bit and then rejects. We'll see. Just no trade. Euro yen. Oh, man. The yen. Leroy Jenkins on the yen yesterday and overnight. The yen has been extremely strong. Much stronger than normal. And boy, wish I still had that short right there. Bonehead move to close that 400 pips. 400 pips almost exactly to the low from that entry the other day. Boy, we caught that one. Caught it here too. Caught it short there and short there. And just closed it within a day trade, which was still a great trade. But that was 100 and something pips, but closed it, but it would have been 400 pips if I would have left it. No trade here. That big, crazy, nasty candle. This is not the kind of thing I want to mess with. We'll wait, see what happens with NFP. I'm not even going to bother looking at levels lower. We're so close. I mean, I see why it stopped. I do see that it could potentially go lower, but it's definitely not something you want to short. We'll leave it at that. Probably no trade there. I would wait and let it stabilize. EuroCAD. Going to see some of the positions here. Net positioning. EuroCAD, obviously looking for a short. There's no reason to be long here. Just structurally and as far as the market cycle is concerned, do you really want to buy this right here? Let's be honest with ourselves here. Is that a good idea? Is that a good idea to buy that? Probably not. So we're going to leave that alone. As far as longs, only interested in shorts. Again, it's very uncertain because of NFP, but we are short, and with a massive potential to come down. You can really see this starting to die out. Buyer exhaustion up here. You can see buyers just cannot push this thing higher right now. Don't know what's going to happen with the news. There's just so much down here that probably be watching something like that really on the downside. Whoops, not that, but something like that, we'll say, for some type of retracement, if not potentially much more than that. It may take a couple days, but definitely looking for some kind of a pull back off the high, some type of retracement. This is extremely high right now statistically, and that matters. Euro CAD, Euro Aussie. Euro Aussie's rejecting. I don't think I have a position on this. I should have taken this long yesterday. We just talked about that. I meant to and didn't. Took Euro Kiwi, and I normally take Euro Kiwi and Euro Aussie at the same time as a basket, almost always. And I just forgot. I was in a hurry and didn't. I wish I would have taken this because this actually had a good move yesterday too. So I don't want to be long here. Again, you can see where we've rejected off the highs. Nothing really to do here. I could see a range. Nothing there. Euro Kiwi. I am long Euro Kiwi. It's not cooperating. Nothing to say. I'm waiting. I know that I don't want to be short. Look at it. Do you really want to sell this here? Somebody might. Depends on your time frames. If you're trading a 1 minute chart, you might. But I know what I'm looking for. It just hasn't gone yet. And again, we've had some really weird day yesterday, honestly. Weird price action all over the place. This looked great and started to go and then pulled back down. So I don't know what's up with that. Whatever. I'm going to leave it. I think it's okay still. I'll manage it. Pound dollar. Nothing to do right now. Pound dollar. You know, we talked about the dollar. I think there's a little bit potentially higher that's possible going into NFP. I don't want to make any decisions here this morning. Again, what's likely to happen over the next few candles. And we got NFP in about... We're inside of the 4-hour candle now where NFP is going to happen. Our 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. candle, it comes at 8:30. So NFP is going to happen inside of this candle. So I am very aware that there's a possibility that this pulls back and rocket ships higher. After that, I have no idea what's going to happen. Be very careful with the dollar today because of where the dollar is. Could be some noise inside of this, and then who knows? It looks like that may happen. This is actually a net position. I have, I think I have a short lower and a short higher way on the top, and this is basically the average. I'm not going to go into my positioning and just probably see some of it here. Some of what's going on within the 3 different accounts. So we'll see what happens here. Nothing really to say. I don't want to be long up here in the sellers. It's ridiculous. And if you zoom out and look at this, how long do you really want to be right here? And that's the point. Not even interested in longs at all on any time frame. So I'm waiting for levels higher. Only interested in risking my capital to the downside personally. We'll see what happens. Again, NFP today in about 2 hours and 20 minutes, something like that. Pound yen. Don't trade this one a lot. It can be messy. Still don't know why everybody likes this so much. Fun fact here about pound yen. It is, some prop firms have released their data. People lose the most money on pound yen. It's number one. It's number one for losses. So that tells you what's going on. There's a disease in Forex of extremely high lot size, very dangerous strategy trading on pound yen. And I don't know why everybody does that, but the reality is and also, I mean, I'm sure people do well with it too, but some prop firms recently released their data, actually a couple months in a row. Pound yen is consistently the number one for losses. People lose the most money trading pound yen. So, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a fun fact. It can be very choppy because of the dynamic between the pound and the yen on smaller time frames. I would be watching in here somewhere probably, which is already there. I'll do the order block thing. I would be watching back in there somewhere, but you see where it is and why you probably don't want to be entering short right now. We'll wait and see what happens with that. Pound CAD. This one's funny. Same thing here. I'll just leave it at this. There's no reference higher really that matters. You got to zoom out, and again, these are 4-hour candles. Do you really want to be long here? Off the low. There has not been a lower low in 2,300 pips. You want to be long on the highest high in months, 2-3 months. I'll leave that up to you. Again, statistically, we're extremely high right now. We're above what would statistically be the high of the weekly candle. Not a good idea to be long here. However, it's not coming down yet. I am short, but waiting, low risk short, and just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. Pound Swiss, great trade, short from yesterday. Let's go. The pound in general, the pound yesterday made some pretty ridiculous moves. And I don't know, some have pulled back and some haven't. Nothing really to say here. And speaking of some that haven't, pound Aussie. This one has been a mess. I am short pound Aussie. Same thing. I took a big basket of the pound short. My positions don't matter. We're just talking about what's happening here. But really, you can see the rejections here on the high. We're way up on the top, big range high. If you zoom out and look at this, man, my computer's running so slow. I don't know why that's happening. We're just at a big range high. One way you could look at this logically is to say, okay, this is a big range with some funny artwork there. Mouse isn't cooperating. But you get the point. You see, we're kind of at a big range high. It's probably not a great idea to be heavily long here. Wouldn't do anything on it. Really, I'm not adding to it or anything. It's just part of my net position. Waiting to see what happens. We do have NFP. Pound Kiwi yesterday caught it 167 pips off the low. Best trade yesterday. Hit target, nailed it. Right off the low, right to the high. 167 pips, perfect trade. But one of the better trades this week. Actually wasn't the best trade this week, as good as that was. Pound CAD short was the best. 204 pips, almost perfect. Pound Kiwi, probably nothing. It's already sold off and it's in the middle of its range. There's not really a lot here. This last candle was kind of uncertain, not really much to do there. I don't know, man. The pound was very strong yesterday. Something about this I don't want to go long on it. I'm not in this one. I didn't short this pair, this one or pound yen, because it just didn't make sense at the time. Not doing anything on that. Moving on. Worst position I have, CAD yen. I have one position higher and one position lower. Heavier position on the bottom. If this pulls back up a little bit, going to be good. My positions don't matter, but you're going to see some stuff on the chart. This doesn't exist anymore. That was from earlier in the week. That was a good trade. The yen went bonkers, like we were talking about. The yen is extremely strong today, and it's just gone much farther than normal. We could probably go back into here and take a look at this kind of stuff and, you know, kind of get an idea on what may happen in here. And we're pretty much there now. I don't think it's going to go that much farther today. I'm not even going to bother with that. So not much to say here. Crazy dump. This actually looked good yesterday and then just completely died when the yen went crazy. So nothing here. Waiting for this. There's no trade here though, really, other than, I don't know. I know where my bias is, but you would have to understand how low this is statistically, and we're not going to go into that kind of strategy stuff right now. It's pretty crazy, and there's absolutely 0% chance that I would be short, whatever that candle looks like. Dollar CAD, no trade here. I was hoping that this was going to drop down a little bit this week, and it hasn't done it. It's been very tight. There hasn't been really any movement at all. I mean, look at these candles. Very small, choppy 4-hour candles. We never dropped and broke the low. I was looking for an entry long on the low, and even when the dollar came down yesterday, this didn't do anything, which is interesting, and just no trade. There's obviously nothing here. If it drops and breaks the low, I would be definitely interested in a retracement long down here temporarily, and who knows? Depends on the dollar. I do think the dollar is going to come down. That being said, I don't think it's going to come down next week. I think we got a couple weeks of upside personally. But when the dollar does come back up, and we'll go over that in just a second, we'll touch back on that on the dollar index. It's very important what's happening there. When that dollar does come back up, I would probably be looking for it to make a lower high. And, you know, we'll play things like dollar CAD, euro dollar, Aussie dollar, pound dollar, those things when it gets there. NASDAQ, redonkulous, did 5% in 4 hours. It's like 5.5% and 5% in 4 hours. The other day, that is absolutely unheard of. It's possibly the largest move that's ever happened, if not one of the top 3 to 5 largest 4-hour candles in history for the NASDAQ. This is just abnormal. It's just not normal for that kind of thing to happen. Think about the amount of money that has to move for the NASDAQ to move that far, 5% in 4 hours. Think about how many, hundreds of billions probably have to move in 4 hours for that to happen. It's pretty crazy. And then we've basically gone into a consolidation that expanded and then contracted. Not safe here. There is a level higher that I don't want to mess with. I don't want to mess with this because of it. I'm not interested in this. I'm only interested in shorts, but not from here. I wouldn't take it in here. If it broke the high, I would possibly be looking for some kind of a retracement or something, but I don't know. We're in a bear market rally right now. We'll put it that way. Powell is hiking the rates, hinted at 50. I think that's why this happened. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be 50 basis points. I think that's what the market kind of interpreted that the other day. Not going to get into that. These kinds of things are less likely to be sustainable. We'll put it that way. S&P is going to be identical. The Dow is going to be nearly identical. I am hedged on the Dow. I was short and it popped up when it dropped back down closer to my entry. I hedged it and I'm waiting. No trade. Same thing, no trade. This structurally on the Dow is a little different. It's extremely high. If for some reason we make it up into this weekly, there's a weekly level up here that I'm watching for exit all markets. This is the exit all markets level. Likely to be the high for years, possibly. I hate to say that, but I know that's a bold prediction. we're going to come back to that and see what happens. VIX we're not worried about. Just use it for reference. I actually took a trade on the VIX this last week. Ran up and I closed it, which was good. Only a couple bucks, but it was just for fun. I just use it for reference. It's not a directional indication. You can see the same thing in the chart of the S&P. You know where the volatility is. It's more of a hedge. There's no reason to mess with it. Oil. Big move on oil this week. Oil has been extremely volatile over the last little bit. It's been good. I almost caught a monster and missed it. Got stopped out by one candle on the 15-minute chart, and then it ran for about 4%. It would have been a $12,000 gain, and I missed it by one 15-minute candle. Ended up taking a 1% loss. Don't win every day, but boy, that would have been the one. It would have been a $12,000 gain if I had not have closed it. All I had to do was wait one candle, and I closed it and did the smart thing and took the loss. And if I would have just left it, the next candle took off and it didn't come back for 4%. Crazy. 4% move in oil, and it would have, with the contracts, I had 20 contracts on it, and it would have been a $12,000 capital W. So that one sucked. But missed it. Anyway, right here, not doing anything. I probably wouldn't do anything on this. I wish I would have shorted it yesterday. It hit a level that made sense yesterday, and I should have taken it. I just wasn't paying attention to it at the time. However, structure-wise, we're right in between a big range. I do think oil is going to go higher. I think oil is going to end up back in the hundreds. We'll just call something like this. We'd shoot for the low end of that. This block of mess right here. It's already kind of hit it. It's in a range currently, and there's nothing really to do on this. I would be looking for longs lower. If this were, for some reason, were to pull back and make like a higher low somewhere, if something like this were to happen over the next week or something, and then pull back to something like that, I would much rather be long from here. And this computer's running slow for some reason. I would rather be long from down there. So I'm kind of waiting on oil. It's already moved way too much. It was like stupid, like 12% or something ridiculous. Not as ridiculous. Yeah, 13%. Not as ridiculous as it when it went negative $23 a year or two ago. That was funny. But the only thing I've actually ever seen literally go to zero, like literal zero, oil actually went to zero. So nothing here really on oil. Waiting. It's in a consolidation. Silver, there's only one direction that I would be interested in this. If you zoom out and look at where it is, we got a new high. Now we got a new high. We could talk about Mr. Slithery the snake, but we won't do that. Mr. Slithery the snake analogy. We're on a higher high, guys. Above a previous high in the money. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about that right there. Everybody can make their own decisions on that. It's a higher high. It's not something I'm interested in buying. We'll put it that way. Gold. I do have a net position short on gold. I have two positions, and my average is somewhere around here. If this comes down today, that would be good. We're on some previous highs here. This has been an inflection. This level that it's at right now has been an inflection point in the market for a long time. This 1800 is right on 1800. Big round psychological number. Has nothing to do with strategy, but it has to do with market psychology, I guess. It's a big round number. 1800. It stopped dead. Your projected weekly high statistically is right here. I don't want to be long here. I would never go long here ever for any reason, not even on a 2-second chart. 17-second chart. If you're not trading a 17-second chart, you're not cool. Yeah, I wouldn't touch. I wouldn't mess with this long. I am short personally, but just low risk. I'm waiting to see what happens. It's NFP. Anything can happen. It could pump up through it. I know that there's some levels higher that I would be watching for a potential entry. I'm going to watch this carefully through NFP. It's very low risk, so I'm not super concerned about it, to be honest. Um, I would not want to be long here personally, but that's just me. I would rather wait for something better to happen, something a little more reliable as far as price action is concerned. We're just in a distribution on the high, on a big high, on a higher high, distributing after a ridiculous run up to the statistically what would be your high of the week, the high of the weekly candle. I'm not interested in long on that. So cliff notes, we could go over other stuff. It's just kind of the major stuff that we'll look at. Don't tend to look at too much lower volatility things. What's going on. We got NFP today. It's a lot of uncertainty going into that. The Bitcoin, nothing really. I saw there was a Senate hearing yesterday about FTX. They had a lot of talk about LedgerX and regulation. There's a massive wave of regulation coming. Just hold on to your lug nuts. It's time for an overhaul. Careful in crypto. It's a rough time. I don't think we're at the bottom of the cycle yet. We're just screwing around inside of ranges. I'm sure this is going to dump before the run up next into the halving, and we're not there yet. We're just in that dead part of the cycle. This happens every time. Kind of no reason to mess with it, in my opinion, where it is right now. So here's the thing. This is the most important thing you need to pay attention to right now, in my opinion, the dollar. The US dollar has the most opportunity in the market, hands down, right now. Where this is what you want to pay attention to, in my opinion. We'll see how this plays out after NFP today. I think next week is going to be a very interesting week for the dollar. You're going to start seeing a different shift in the market here coming. Aussie dollar again, whatever on that. So basically the dollar is something important. The pound made a huge move. It's likely to pull back a little more. The pound made such a big move yesterday and over the last few days that it's likely that it's going to pull back a little bit more, at least. Kind of waiting to see what happens on some of the other pairs. Oddly enough, the majority of the market this morning has been contracting. Most currency indexes, the actual indexes themselves, are contracting. They're dying out a little bit. The whole market is kind of deflating. The yen is the only thing that's gaining. Most other currencies as an index, the actual currencies themselves and not pairs, are actually receding a little bit. So it feels like there's money coming out of the market. I don't know where it's going necessarily, but there's money coming out because most of the 7 of the 8 major currencies are declining, and that's not really normal. The yen is on a rampage. Other than the yen, I don't know where it's going. It's like it's all going to the yen. So the yen has been on a rampage today. Most everything else is declining. That's not likely to stay that way. We'll see what happens with NFP. We got about 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes until NFP. It's going to be an interesting one today. I would be very careful with this one today. We already got the jobs data, by the way. ADP came out Wednesday, told us what the numbers were. This is the funny thing about non-farm payroll is we get the data from a private company. ADP processes the most payroll in the United States, and they released their data on Wednesday. We know it's bad. It came out terrible. 2 days later, we all have to pretend that we're surprised when we get the same exact data point from the government. So on Wednesday, we get the data, the non-farm employment change from a private company that processes the most payroll, so they know what's going on. They have their finger on the pulse of jobs in America because they're the ones who process the most paychecks, so they know what's going on. Would they give us their data, slightly different calculation on Wednesday? And then we all have to pretend to be surprised when this data comes out today for NFP. So we already know that it's going to be bad. We'll get average hourly earnings and stuff, but we already know that the numbers are not good. So this is going to be interesting today. Sometimes that kind of stuff gets faded the wrong way, the opposite way that it should, air quotes, be going. So let's see what happens here with this. It's going to be a weird one today. Just a little pre-NFP video. We'll see what happens afterwards, and maybe we'll do a follow-up. Right now, I would be most focused on the dollar, and I have a feeling that next week is going to be a very good trading week. Going to close this out. Going to go back and do some brute stuff, see if we can find some trades real quick. I hope everybody has a good week, and good luck with NFP.